Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the TJR Auto channel. My name is Tyler, and in today's video, we are going to be getting this bad boy painted up, and we're going to be getting it together so that it's ready to go back into the GTO. So, let's get it. All right, guys, now that we got the block all painted up, she does look pretty good. I didn't go too crazy with getting all the little bit of original paint off of it and whatnot, so it's a little rough looking in certain areas, but I don't really care. Anything that I left on there, you know, rust-wise or paint-wise, they were really stubborn to get off anyway, so I think we'll be okay with like flaking paint. We should be fine. You don't even see most of this when it's in the car. But since everything's painted now, what I want to do is strip this motor down the rest of the way. So we got to pull off the crank pulley, timing cover. We got to get the cam out of this thing, you know, timing gear, timing chain, oil pan, and start getting some new parts on this bad boy. What I'm going to do, and we're going to see how well it works, is I have a dish sponge, and I'm basically just going to put some brake cleaner either on the sponge or on the piston heads and just try to gently clean these up. I'm not looking to scratch these. I'm not looking for a deep clean, but if I can get more of this carbon buildup off, so these are relatively smooth all the way around, I'll be happy. And then from there, I'll deal with getting all of the gasket surfaces cleaned up. And then from that point, again, another cleaning, and then we can start installing some parts. Get her well lubed up. Well, you know, do a little one of those moves. So let's just get everything decently lubed so we don't go dry. It's never good to go dry, people. You should know this by now. Now, putting this in, we're looking for two things. One, to go in carefully so that I don't knock any of the cam bearings out of place, because that's going to be a whole shit show. And I also want to make sure that this doesn't feel any weirdness or tightness when I get it into the cam bearings. Now, these are not fresh cam bearings, so I shouldn't have a problem, but it's something to keep in mind. So let's be careful. Slip her on in. Once you get a couple in, kind of will keep itself, as I said, that knocked it out of place. I have to do a little like wiggle, especially to get around any of the cam lobes. Okay. Oh, all right, we're almost there. So now I already have some of the bolts on the end of this, just from when I pulled this out of the old motor. So I'm just gonna see. And now without having the valley plate on it, the valley cover plate thing, I can actually see the back of the cam right now. Boom. We have installed a BTR. That beep ruins everything. Ruins everything. It's the first time I've cammed my own motor. And the beep has to happen. God damn it. As I was saying, we now have a cam installed into the LQ4. And it feels nice, feels fine, doesn't feel weird or anything. Like I said, I put a decent bit of oil on the cam bearings as well as the cam, as you guys just saw. So it should be decently lubricated to move it around a little bit like I just was. So that's good. That's good. All right, so now that we got the good old choppy bitch installed, now it's time to throw on the brand new cam retainer plate. Obviously, I got a brand new one because the O-ring was wiped on the LS1. This is one of those things you might as well replace it. It's not like it's going to break the bank. One thing I do want to mention is you got to make sure you have the correct hardware for the new one that you buy. The one on the LS1 was actually perfectly flat, so it had like a normal traditional style shouldered bolt on it. The new one is actually beveled, so I'm going to be reusing the hardware off of the LQ4's original camera tuner plate because it's also beveled. So I've read and heard in some videos it's not required. I'm going to do a very small dabble of Loctite on it, like very, very small, just as a little bit of insurance. So now, throw that there. Got one started to hang it. And now we'll do all these, and I have to look up the torque spec for these. I don't think they're high, so probably just good. So we got the camera tanner plate fully installed. That was 18 foot-pounds. So that's good. And then I was looking at this timing gear sprocket thing on the crank, and I was like, I don't know if I have any pullers laying around, but thankfully I actually have this Harbor Freight kit from a while ago when I attempted to rebuild a transmission. So we're going to give this thing a shot. I think I have it rigged up right. So let's see. Ooh, it's moving nicely. Look at that. That's nice. Let's see. Oh, wow. That was as good as that could have gone. Okay, well, I guess that's how you're supposed to do it. Something of this nature, because that went as good as it could have. It went as good as it could have. Let's see. How can I do this without dropping everything into the abyss bucket underneath? There we go. And when I was cleaning the motor, I actually threw the crank bolt back in just finger tight, just so I could rotate the motor over, be able to clean out all the cylinder walls, and when I was scrubbing the pistons. So that's why that was in there. Oh wow, that comes right off. Interesting. Okay. And for anybody who doesn't know, these actually have a keyway on them, so there's only one way for these guys to go on. So that makes me feel more confident. But you guys can see that one keyway there. So now we have to go do the same exact thing onto the blown LS1 because that motor actually has a double timing chain sprocket on it, which I plan to use. So let's go get that one. All right, so thankfully we were able to get the double roller timing chain set up for the crank snout, whatever. I don't know. There's a lot of terminology. Got this off of the LS1. Thankfully it came right off, so it didn't fight me too bad. And now there is a bunch of different numbers on this gear with a bunch of different key slots. So the way it was set up and the way I believe it's supposed to be is I put the key slot into 0. I believe that is 0 degrees of timing or plus 0 degrees, something like that. I don't understand. And then at the top towards the tooth of the gear, there was actually a paint mark on 0, or it looks like a circle or a 0. I can't really tell. And then this guy, which I believe is for the oil pump, pops right on, and this only has one way to go on. I think that's it for that little piece, but now what I want to do is I actually want to, I'm going to put this in here and spin the motor back over. I want to make it so that the top dead center mark, I believe that is, will be straight up and down so that when I go to put my cam gear on with the timing chain, it'll be perfectly lined up. Right now it's kind of off center, which, probably isn't the end of the world, but it just makes life easier if we can look at it in straight up and down. So this motor, of course, spins over like butter. So let's get this back to... All right. Right there looks about good. Basically a dot. It's probably, you guys probably can't see it from there. I'll show you after. There's basically a dot on the gear and then a dot on both gears that should be lined up. So now what I'll do is I'll rotate the cam roughly to where it needs to be, because there's one pin and then 3 bolts for the cam. So there's really only one way that this can go on. So it's roughly there. All right, I'm going to throw a bolt in it, and then we're going to double check that everything looks good. But I mean, if that's it, that's actually really simple. I did like a minute worth of reading and watched like 45 seconds of a video. So that means I'm a master mechanic, right? But if we look down here, you can see the dot on the cam gear and then the dot, which is basically a 0 on this gear. So I think we're good. That looks like it's lined up. So on my little lunch break, I did some research into it, basically confirmed that everything here does look good and it looks how it should be. As scary as this looks, apparently this is normal for LS timing chains. So I'm not going to question it, and we're just going to run it. But I found out the torque specs for these bolts. I believe it was like 18 or 20 foot-pounds. I also threw some Loctite on these, torqued them in there. We're all good. I did a couple rotations of the motor as well, just to make sure everything looks good. It didn't move, and we're good. So that's good. Now that we're at this point, the next step is I was hoping you guys would say it, the oil pump. So I went to take apart the LS1's melling oil pump. I couldn't get it apart. I stripped one of these star bit screws on the back of it. So we bought a new one. This was like 130 bucks on Amazon. It's a high pressure pump, not a high volume pump. So this is a high pressure melling 1029.5 pump. Now I believe this already has a high pressure spring installed in it. The box comes with 2 other pressured springs. I think one of them is higher than this and one of them is lower than this. We're just going to run the 10 psi over spring. Should be fine. So now, something I did take off of the LS1 were these little spacer bracket plate things. So I believe these actually go on between the block and the pump. And what that does is it actually spaces it out from the double roller timing chain. So thankfully I kept those. But what we're going to do now is I'm probably just going to do one side at a time. I also kept all the hardware. I cleaned all of them up as well from the LS1. But what I want to do is just get this thing in place, and then I will worry about pulling the bolts back out to Loctite them. What we'll be doing though is putting the bolts in, and then we'll run the motor over 360 degrees and then torque them down. That apparently will seat all of the oil pump stuff in place and make it happy, I guess. I don't really know. But that's what Melling recommends, and that's what I'm going to do. This is good. This is good. I like this. All right, folks, well, unfortunately, that is where we're going to be wrapping up today's video. I am very short on time, unfortunately, this week to be able to put a good video together. So clearly, the motor is actually not this far along. I just threw it together so you guys could see basically what the final product's going to be. I also needed to get a pretty nice looking thumbnail to reel you people in. I'm not fraudulent, I promise. But obviously, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done to this thing. So make sure to check out next week's video where we will do, and these things are not limited to, but will include, trunnion bushing upgrade for the rocker arms. We need to still clean up the heads the rest of the way and then do head gaskets, heads. LS7 lifter install with brand new trays, still got to do that. Valve springs from the stock 241 LS1 heads, which were upgraded valve springs for this BTR Stage 3 cam from the previous motor. Those need to get swapped into the 799 heads. Rear main seal, again, install of everything you're looking at essentially. So there's still quite a bit of work to be done, but we're going to try to knock that out in the next video. And then there's a couple parts that came in for the chassis of the car, which I would also like to get done. So make sure to stay tuned for that. But unfortunately, when I was filming, putting the stuff together, I somehow either didn't press record or my phone just was not happy with me. And I did not get any video footage of doing the crankshaft seal, the timing cover, or the crank pulley. So that sucks. Those are pretty straightforward things though, so you guys didn't really miss much. The eBay pan, it fits, but I did have to cut the windage tray up a little bit, and I also had to guess and hope that I put the oil pan, oil diverter tubes and stuff together correctly. So let's pray to God that those are good. Otherwise, I probably won't have oil pressure. And I also had to modify the pickup tube mount a little bit to fit because it was pulling it, trying to pull it out of the oil pump when you mounted it. So I had to play with that. But hopefully that setup's good. I'll put some pictures in of whatever pictures I took. But again, I saw sorry. But anyways, this is where I got to wrap up today's video. Like I said, make sure to check out the next week's video to see this motor actually get to this point, and then it won't go in the car next week. So I don't know. I'm sorry, guys. This week's been a complete crapshoot. I threw my back out, and it's like, it hurts. I don't know if it was from doing the motor stuff or if it was from work. It could be either or. I don't know. I'm trying for you guys. I'm sorry. I love you all. I'm sorry. But hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. Again, make sure you stop by next week to see more progress on the motor and the other odds and ends get taken care of. Like I said, I have a couple parts for the chassis as well. So I would like to get those done before the drivetrain goes in, just because why not? But I'm super hyped with how this thing's coming out so far. I'm so excited to get this thing back on the road, and I'm very excited to see what kind of power we're going to make and to see if this thing runs a lot healthier than the previous LS1 did that unfortunately put 2 rods through the block. Not 1, but 2 rods through the block. So I'm going to say something was not right with that motor ever, and we're going to hope and pray that the 6.0 we're slapping together scoots, because I spent a lot of money on this, and I hope it does. But anyways, like I said, that's where we're going to wrap up today's video. So as always, thank you guys so much for tuning in. The last 2 videos actually did very, very well. So I'm hoping this video also does well. It gives me hope in life. Thank you. But again, as always, thank you guys so much for stopping in. I truly do appreciate it. I love you all from the bottom of my heart. I truly do mean it. You guys mean so much to me. So thank you. I love you all. Please make sure you're subbed if you liked the video. Like the video if you did like it. If you didn't like it, please like it anyways. I need it. And also make sure to drop some comments down below. Let me know if I messed anything up, because I truly don't know what I'm doing. And hopefully you guys got to learn something, either what to do or what not to do. And either way, we're all learning one way or another. So again, and this is it, because I got to go eat dinner with my lovely lady, Audrey. And of course, Audrey is going back to school very soon. So I've been trying to spend time with her as well, just amongst everything else. It's life. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I truly do appreciate it. Make sure to tune in next week, and I will see you guys then when we hopefully actually have this motor bolted up like this.